All right, guys, we are live.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
So we've got another guest this week. Excuse me, really excited about it. Craig Simmons is with SkyOak Wealth. He's a wealth manager. I've had the pleasure of knowing you, Craig, for it's got to be about 5 years now, right?
Yeah, ever since you left our bright sunny location.
5 years feels like 20. I got you. So Craig's been in the financial services industry for over 25 years. Shortly after getting started, I see that you had actually started your own firm, which tells me that you've got a spin, that you have an attachment to the client and truly helping people to make sure that you're finding the best spot for them, not just what the company you work for may have had to offer. So I can't wait to dig into that a little bit more. Part that I'm fascinated on a couple of the approaches that we had a chance to talk about beforehand. So can't wait to dig in and hear what your insight can lead us into this growing wealth outside of real estate. And then I'm also fascinated about your desire for exponential technology. So we have a lot of stuff to cover. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to a couple guys of America's favorite loan officers, mortgage brokers, as call them in the country, and happy to be involved.
What floor are you on there? You're up there high.
Yeah, we're up here, 7th floor in Southfield, Michigan.
Okay.
A little cloudy today. The weather's been beautiful otherwise, but no, it's a great view of downtown Detroit. For those of you in Michigan, it's at the old Towers Watson Wyatt building, and we love it here. Been here for 20 years.
Wow.
Out your windows, is that south then? Or which way are you?
That's
South is that way? Okay.
Yep, north. We're on Northwestern Highway, which runs complete opposite of Northwestern, which is kind of fun.
All right. So our group in the audience that we're talking to, it's about creating, growing your net worth, whether that means getting started with acquiring real estate, or it's you already own some real estate, or we're early on in the planning stages. So when we talked about this, I was fascinated by the concept that you shared with me. So if you don't mind, fill me in on that, because I love the name of it.
So when it comes to saving money above and beyond what you spend, obviously creating a budget is the core of that. And we're big believers of putting yourself on that budget line item. So if you have bills to pay, whether it's mortgage payments, car payments, things along those lines, I like to list yourself as pay yourself first approach to saving money. And so typically the first person paid, as we all know, is Uncle Sam. But hold on a second here. I'm going to tell my guys. They take their money out first, and then you get to keep whatever's left over. But if you can get in the habit of literally just paying yourself a check, whether you set up a separate account for it, and to just write a check into that account every month and make it payable to yourself, we just are big believers in that approach, and it kind of forces you to put that money aside before you spend it. So pay yourself first is a concept we've always been big fans of.
So that's the opposite of what people might normally think, right? Well, I've got to get all my bills paid, and I hope there's something left over that I can slide over into that account.
Yeah, it takes a lot of discipline to do that, Ken. As we all know, there's so many things tugging at us relative to spending money. So if you can put that money in your name first, and don't touch it, obviously, and save it, and then just spend whatever's left over, it just seems to work out really well that way.
We were going through that. You said that there might even be some technology things that can help with that, or some apps that, to take that maybe even a step further to get it on autopilot or for tracking.
Yeah, we have a lot of, we just like you do a lot of generations. And so for the more sophisticated generations, technology like Mint, I personally have been using Quicken for, tracking my expenses and so forth for years. But there's a lot of, really good technology out there to help with this cause. I find a lot of younger generation uses Mint, and you can use a free version of it, which is great. But yeah, that's an excellent, very excellent thing to do to get set up on that early on. And it causes some sort of if you buy into that, you dedicate yourself to the process, and I think that helps too.
What, give me an idea of a general challenge or what they fight with to switch from what they're doing now and then transitioning to what you're asking them to do. What's the general spot they get stuck at, or they can't get over the hurdle?
That's a great question. And I think it's the answer to that lies in the same answer for a lot of problems in life. I mean, habits, right? I mean, breaking, old habits are very hard to do. And so it does force, it does take some commitment. They say it takes 90 days to form a good habit. So what we find is that it's just that always the way somebody's always done things is their biggest enemy. And so if you can kind of get the discipline started to get this proverbial ball rolling down the hill and doing it, for 90 days consecutively, we find that can be a good habit changing for a lot of people.
I love that. Thank you. It makes sense when you say it, but when you're thinking about going through it yourself, you're like, you need the accountability partner.
Accountability is everything. It's the Weight Watchers plan. They say it's statistically that's one of the most successful programs out there, and you know what it is? It's accountability, because you actually have to show up and being accountable not just to yourself but to others. Getting into a team, maybe to do it with a group of individuals, your peers or somebody along that line, is always good from an accountability standpoint, because it takes tremendous discipline. Everybody kind of knows what they should be doing, but the discipline to do it is a different story.
You had mentioned something to me the other day when we spoke too, but it was kind of like almost outsourcing for expertise, or what the most valuable commodity that we have as people that we have access to is, what was it? Time, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we said it, Ken, is that when it comes to time in life, it's your fault, right? Everybody has 168 hours in a week. I haven't figured out a way to extend that. If you do, that'd be tremendous. But how you allocate your time is everything. And so we're big fans of trying to come up with priorities. Personally here at SkyOak Wealth, we work with a lot of families, families with wealth, and we get the benefit of working with different generations of those families. And what we've often found is that, typically, just kind of generalizing, but family is usually family relationships is pretty high up there for a lot of people when it comes to their core values. And then I always kind of classify a couple other ways that people decide to split their time up. But one of which is building wealth. I mean, you think of yourself as working, and it's a grind, but you're really doing that to build wealth so you can have more freedom, right, later in life. And so in terms of prioritization, I think that if you can figure out how to allocate your time and do it in a way that's most efficient for what you're trying to accomplish in terms of your core priorities, I think that's just an absolute good way to live, relative to financially and or personally.
I love that. Ken and I had a few mentors along the way that were certainly crucial in our level of understanding to get started early. We'll worry about the rest later, but let's just get started. And the habit did kick in, whether it was 90 days or maybe a couple of years for us back then. But gosh, has it paid off here as I got about 6 months to my 50th. Ken passed his. Yeah, barely.
I prefer to call it the half century mark.
There we go.
Sounds much more than I reached mine this year as well.
There's a big club of us.
Yeah, it's just I like what you're saying about the accountability being a big part of it. And I think where we as the mortgage broker maybe go wrong a little bit is we want them to do what you're saying, and we talk about it maybe a little bit, but an action step to get them launched is this is part of the reason that we wanted to have you on talking about this. Is a refresher for us. It's a reminder of us that in order for them to grow their net worth, that they do need the accountability and they do need to get started early. And I think we may maybe let them off the hook a little bit, so focused on that home piece, getting them in the home.
Yeah, I mean, look, the home for the majority of Americans, is their largest single asset that they'll ever accumulate. So that's obviously that's where your focus is, and that should be a priority for a lot of people. I think what you're alluding to is just basically early on, prior to the actual process of starting the transaction, looking for a home, is starting that process of allocating that money aside. And that kind of goes back to our prior discussion. It does take discipline, and I think that early on, you come off of whether you just graduated from school or just started your first time job, you got all these kind of lingering priorities, and you forget one of the near-term priorities is to save money. And so that's why that pay yourself first concept is so good. If you can put that money into an account that you don't have even access to, that sounds crazy, but you can, it's so easy to move money around today's world. You can put money aside into like a Marcus account. There's online accounts, and literally make it so that you have to actually request it rather than be able to transfer it. So it just kind of stops you from having immediate access. In the Venmo world we live in, it's just too easy to transfer funds around. So it's just like a way of saving money for that, initial down payment, which typically, depending on the first time home buyer, where the market they're in is, it can be $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000, I presume. You'd know better, but so, just if you think about it, if you have a 3-year process or a 5-year process to buy a home, just a matter of dividing that number by, whatever period that you have between now and when you want to make the down payment. And it sounds easy, which it kind of is, but you still have to do it. And taking that discipline to do it is what you're alluding to, I believe.
It's kind of what we do, but all three of us have kids that are at that age where, now it's time for them to start doing that if they haven't already. So this stuff just I know it hits home even more for me now, given the age of, we can talk about it, but now you got to go home and you've got somebody in the family where you're going, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? And having those conversations. And you're right, it is a discipline. It takes time to talk about it and continue to talk about it and take an action step and get started. But this has just much more significance, especially for me than it did even just a couple of years ago.
I'm
know it's the right thing.
My son's 23 and in that stage too, just like you. And I hear, it's funny, Kurt said something earlier that kind of struck a chord that, you hear it from us, you hear it from your parents, you hear it from others, but it's everybody's saying the same thing. I don't know what it takes for some people to start the process, but it's you hear these things and intuitively that you have to be doing things, right? And so I think that for those aspiring home buyers or first-time home buyers, just having that discipline is critical, and putting that money aside is what we're talking about doing, and paying yourself first is a good way to do it.
We are determined to get people launched properly. And I would say that, over the last 25 years or however long I've been doing it, I'm not happy with the way that we've been doing that and helping them get launched. We've talked a lot about it, but we can make a difference in these folks' lives. I can see it with my oldest daughter is 22. She's putting the $500 aside right now, figuring out her rent payment, car insurance payment. How am I going to get that 500 saved or more? So the people inside my home are doing it. The people outside of my home, they can be doing it too. And I'm really determined, Ken and I are to help make a difference for folks to just, I love the discipline. I love the accountability. Again, we're repeating simple, same messages, but some tools along the way we think will help them, and having the sounding board. So one of the reasons Ken wanted you on is this gentleman is just like we are. He's easy to speak with. He's a sounding board. Folks can reach out to him and they're going to have a normal conversation there's no, it's just fact based.
Yeah,
So we're excited.
I'm sure the team is that what you are about runs through the whole team. And when we spoke before, it's just that simple thing of, if we can say it enough times, of pay yourself first. That's what struck me. Budget, you know what? It's all the same thing, but the way of just saying it, of pay yourself first, seems a little more simple or less daunting to get started. Because I think we've all said it, right? Our wish is just get started.
Well, I want to say too that I admire that you're thinking this level of depth for your potential customers and clients, because that's the part of the problem, you guys, and you know better than most, is that there's a lot of people out there doing your business, my business, but they have a passion for trying to give back and make help people make better decisions. We need more of that. And so
Yes.
I love this education, program that you guys have been doing, and I've been following for a while. I think it's phenomenal. And so, going back to that, just kind of thesis here of, people kind of know, but whatever it takes verbally or, intellectually for you to understand, it's just getting over that hump. I think you mentioned it, Ken, is that putting it in place, but getting over the hump, sometimes taking that first step, walking into your first, diet class. It's always that tough part. That's the hardest part, is getting started, right? As they say. But once you do and just kind of get a discipline rolling along, it's easy to keep it going. And, there's so many different wonderful resources and tools out there that Kirk was alluding to. Is the amount of information sometimes is overwhelming. And so what I've shared with some of our families before is that for those trying to find some education in this area, the major firms that that we do a lot of work with have just tremendous education programs and resources, all available for free. And you can start with as little as $25 in some of these firms. I'm mentioning a couple of them, just I don't have any priorities for recommending these, but they're just wonderful tools. Charles Schwab is a firm we do a lot of work with. TD Ameritrade is now owned by Charles Schwab. Fidelity has just a tremendous platform. There's a couple other tools that we've recommended. American Association of Individual Investors, AAII, for those looking to try to just get, whether it's budgeting or understanding of where to put money and how to put money away. You don't have to look too far for just tremendous, great information from those sources. And obviously reach out to those who are successful. That's another thing. You guys mentioned you guys had mentors. I mean, everybody has someone in their life, right, that they can see made some good decisions along the way, and they want to help. It's amazing to me. I always said, Ken, we talked about this before, but our kids now being the age that they are, it's surprising how few of my kids' friends ever call me and say, "Can I just talk to you about what you do?" I'd be happy to. Whether it's from your alma mater or your network of family. I mean, there's probably a good chance that somebody that if you made a phone call and say, "Hey, can you spend just 5-10 minutes with me talking me through something?" they'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, boy, that's true, right? All the lessons or the shots we've taken off the chin along the way. If we can share something that somebody can avoid one of those or learn from it, totally. It's a feel good for us, especially.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we covered absolutely everything that I wanted to. The other thing that I just wanted to share specifically about Craig is you touched on it, the amount of families or the generations within the families that you've helped. Life transition, so getting started, life transition. You've covered the full gamut, and with some families with immense wealth. So I don't think there's a scenario that you haven't covered. So we truly appreciate the expertise and coming on and helping us out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else you're thinking that maybe we didn't cover that's still top of mind?
That just the behavioral biases that we're kind of alluding to here. I mean, it's tough to get over that. I mean, we see it over and over again. I think that everybody, as I said before, can do it. It's just taking that first step. And so I encourage you guys to keep doing what you're doing in the educational front, and I'll do the same thing on mine. And you inspire me to just reach down to help people, and I love it. I thanks so much for inviting me to be on, and I'm here as a resource for you anytime.
And thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a
Have a
great
good
day.
one.
You too. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.